Marcus Chen had everything money could buy, but the sight of a 17-year-old girl meticulously washing his Bugatti Chiron every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. made him question everything he thought he knew about wealth and sacrifice. Her calloused hands moved with practiced precision, her worn sneakers soaked through from the puddles she stood in, and when she thought no one was looking, she would pause to count crumpled bills from her pocket with the desperation of someone racing against time. What Marcus didn't expect was to discover that this girl's story would mirror the most painful chapter of his own life, or that her quiet determination would force him to confront the sister he couldn't save 20 years ago. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any more amazing stories, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. The morning sun cast long shadows across the exclusive Hillcrest Country Club parking lot as 17-year-old Sofia Reyes knelt beside a gleaming silver Porsche 911, her reflection distorted in its pristine surface. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, secured with a rubber band that had seen better days, and her jeans bore the permanent stains of countless car washes. The bucket beside her contained sudsy water that had already turned gray from the dirt and grime she'd scrubbed away. But Sofia didn't mind. Every streak she removed, every spot she polished to perfection, brought her one step closer to the $847 she still needed for her brother's next round of medication. The country club's parking lot was a showcase of automotive luxury, a place where six-figure vehicles sat casually in the California sunshine, while their owners enjoyed leisurely brunches and business meetings inside the brass, marble-clad building. Sofia had discovered this gold mine of opportunity 3 months ago when she'd walked the 12 miles from her apartment in East LA, armed with nothing but a bucket, some rags, and the desperate hope that rich people might pay well for clean tars. She'd been right. The members of Hillcrest Country Club were generous, often tipping her $20 or $30 for a wash that would cost $15 at any regular car wash. But more importantly, they didn't ask questions. They didn't want to know why a teenager was spending her early mornings scrubbing their luxury vehicles, instead of sleeping in like most kids her age. They simply handed her cash, complimented her thoroughness, and went about their privileged lives. Sofia worked methodically, starting with the wheels and working her way up. She'd learned through trial and error that the details mattered to these car owners. They noticed if she missed a spot on the rims, if she left streaks on the windows, or if she failed to clean the door jambs. Perfection wasn't just expected, it was demanded, and Sofia had trained herself to deliver nothing less. The Porsche belonged to Mrs. Henderson, a real estate mogul who always wore designer suits and smelled like expensive perfume. She was one of Sofia's regular customers, arriving every Tuesday at precisely 7:30 for her weekly tennis match with the other wives in her social circle. Mrs. Henderson paid well, $50 for a complete wash and detail, but she also had exacting standards. The last time Sofia had left water spots on the passenger side mirror, Mrs. Henderson had docked $10 from her payment and delivered a lecture about attention to detail that still made Sofia's cheeks burn with, quote, embarrassment. As Sofia applied tire shine to the Porsche's wheels, she mentally calculated her earnings for the week. Monday had been good. She'd washed 4 cars and earned $130. Tuesday was shaping up to be even better, with Mrs. Henderson's Porsche and at least 3 other vehicles already scheduled. If she could maintain this pace, she might be able to cover Miguel's medication costs for another month, maybe even have enough left over to fix the broken air conditioning in their apartment before the summer heat became unbearable. The thought of her 12-year-old brother brought both motivation and worry. Miguel had been diagnosed with juvenile diabetes 2 years ago, and the monthly cost of his insulin and monitoring supplies had devastated their already strained finances. Their mother worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices at night and serving tables during the day, but it wasn't enough. The medical bills kept mounting, and Sofia had watched her mother grow thinner and more exhausted with each passing month. That's when Sofia had made the decision to drop out of her after-school activities and find a way to contribute. She'd tried traditional part-time jobs, applying to fast food restaurants and retail stores, but most required her to be 18 or had scheduling conflicts with her school hours. The car washing business had been born out of desperation, and had grown through determination and word-of-mouth recommendations. Sofia finished with the Porsche, just as Mrs. Henderson emerged from the country club, her tennis racket bag slung over her shoulder and her phone pressed to her ear. She barely glanced at Sofia as she inspected the car, running her manicured finger along the hood to check for dust. Satisfied, she handed Sofia 3 $20 bills and drove away without a word of thanks. The next car in Sofia's lineup was a navy blue BMW X7 that belonged to Dr. Patel, a cardiologist who always asked about her studies and encouraged her to pursue her education. Unlike Mrs. Henderson, Dr. Patel treated Sofia with kindness and respect, often bringing her a bottle of water or a breakfast sandwich from the club's restaurant. His BMW required extra attention because he often transported his elderly patients, and dog hair from his golden retriever seemed to find its way into every crevice of the interior. As Sofia worked on the BMW, vacuuming the seats and wiping down the dashboard, she allowed herself to dream about the future. She'd always been good at math and science, and before Miguel's diagnosis, she'd harbored dreams of becoming an engineer or maybe even a doctor. Her grades were still strong despite her demanding schedule, but college seemed like an impossible luxury when every dollar she earned went toward keeping her family afloat. Dr. Patel arrived earlier than usual, carrying 2 coffee cups and wearing his usual warm smile. "Sofia, my dear, you're here bright and early again. I brought you some coffee, the good stuff from inside." He handed her one of the cups, and Sofia accepted it gratefully. The coffee was rich and smooth, a stark contrast to the instant coffee they drank at home when they could afford it. "Thank you, Dr. Patel. You're too kind." Sofia took a sip and felt the warmth spread through her chest. These small gestures of humanity meant more to her than the wealthy club members can ever understand. "How is your brother doing? Miguel, isn't it?" Dr. Patel's concern was genuine, and Sofia appreciated that he remembered not just her name, but her family's situation. "He's managing. The new insulin regimen is helping stabilize his blood sugar, but the costs—" Sofia trailed off, not wanting to burden this kind man with her family's financial struggles. "I understand, my dear. Healthcare costs can be overwhelming, especially for families without comprehensive insurance. If you ever need resources or referrals, please don't hesitate to ask. There are programs, Tess, available that might help." Dr. Patel's offer was sincere, but Sofia knew that navigating the healthcare system's bureaucracy was a luxury her family couldn't afford. They needed immediate solutions, not months of paperwork and waiting lists. Dr. Patel paid her the usual $45 and added an extra $10 tip, pressing the money into her soap-sudded hands with a gentle pat on the shoulder. "Keep working hard, Sofia. Education is the key to breaking cycles. Don't lose sight of your dreams." As his BMW disappeared around the corner, Sofia felt a familiar pang of emotion. Dr. Patel reminded her of her father, who had passed away when she was 14. He'd been a mechanic, skilled with his hands and full of dreams for his children's futures. He would have been proud of Sofia's work ethic, but she also knew he would have wanted more for her than washing cars in a country club parking lot. The third car of the morning was a challenge that Sofia had been dreading. A pristine white Lamborghini Huracan sat gleaming in the California sun, its low profile and aggressive lines commanding attention from everyone who passed by. The car belonged to Jake Morrison, a tech entrepreneur in his early 30s who had made his fortune developing mobile apps. Unlike the other club members, Jake was closer to Sofia's age and had a cocky attitude that made her uncomfortable. Jake had a habit of making inappropriate comments about Sofia's appearance and often stood too close while she worked, pretending to inspect her progress while actually ogling her. She'd considered refusing his business, but the Lamborghini paid well, $75 for a complete wash and detail, and Sofia couldn't afford to turn down that kind of money. As she began working on the Lamborghini, Sofia steeled herself for Jake's inevitable appearance. Sure enough, he emerged from the club within minutes, wearing expensive athletic wear and designer sunglasses that probably cost more than Sofia's family spent on groceries in 3 months. "Well, well, Sofia, looking good this morning." Jake's tone had the sleazy undertone that made Sofia's skin crawl. "Make sure you get every inch of that car perfect. I've got a date tonight, and I need her looking as hot as possible." Sofia focused on her work, keeping her responses polite but minimal. "Of course, Mr. Morrison. I'll make sure she's spotless." Jake positioned himself where he could watch Sofia work, making comments about her technique and occasionally brushing against her under the pretense of pointing out spots she'd missed. Sofia endured it because she needed the money, but every interaction left her feeling dirty in a way that soap and water couldn't wash away. "You know, Sofia, you're wasting your talents washing cars. A pretty girl like you could make a lot more money in other ways." Jake's suggestion was barely veiled, and Sofia felt her stomach turn. "I'm fine with what I'm doing, thank you," Sofia replied firmly, not looking up from the wheel she was polishing. "Just saying, I know people in the entertainment industry. Could open some doors for you." Jake's persistence was growing more aggressive, and Sofia began looking for escape routes. Before the situation could escalate further, the sound of approaching footsteps caught both their attention. A tall man in an expensive charcoal suit was walking toward them, his pace measured but purposeful. Sofia had seen him before, always arriving in different luxury vehicles, always impeccably dressed, but never interacting with the other club members. There was something about his demeanor that commanded respect without demanding it, a quiet authority that seemed to emanate from his very presence. "Morrison." The man's voice was calm, but carried an edge that made Jake step back instinctively. "Oh, hey Marcus, didn't see you there." Jake's cocky confidence evaporated in the presence of this newcomer. Marcus Chen didn't acknowledge Jake's greeting. Instead, his dark eyes focused on Sofia with an intensity that made her pause in her work. There was something in his gaze, a recognition or understanding that she couldn't quite interpret. "The young lady is working. Perhaps you have somewhere else to be," Marcus suggested, though it sounded more like a polite command than a request. Jake looked between Marcus and Sofia, clearly wanting to assert his authority, but lacking the courage to challenge this imposing figure. "Yeah, well, I was just making sure she does a good job. These cars don't wash themselves." "I'm sure she's perfectly capable," Marcus replied, his tone leaving no room for argument. Jake mumbled something about having phone calls to make and retreated toward the club, leaving Sofia alone with the mysterious Marcus Chen. Sofia had heard whispers about him among the other service workers. He was rumored to be worth billions, a tech mogul who'd built his empire from nothing and now owned companies across multiple industries. Some said he was ruthless in business. Others claimed he was a philanthropist who gave away millions to charity. All agreed that he was intensely private and rarely spoke to anyone at the club. "Are you all right?" Marcus asked, his voice softer now that Jake was gone. Sofia nodded, surprised by his concern. "Yes, sir. Thank you for that." Marcus studied her for a moment longer, taking in her work-worn clothes, her calloused hands, and the determined set of her shoulders. "What's your name?" "Sofia Reyes, sir." "How long have you been washing cars here, Sofia?" "About 3 months, sir." Sofia wasn't sure why this powerful man was interested in her story, but something about his manner encouraged honesty. "Every day?" "Tuesday through Saturday, usually. Sometimes Sunday, if there are events." Sofia continued working on the Lamborghini as she spoke, unwilling to waste time even during this unexpected conversation. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "That's quite a schedule for someone your age. Do you attend school?" "Yes, sir. Riverside High. I'm a senior." Sofia felt compelled to prove that she wasn't neglecting her education, that she understood the importance of finishing school. "And after school? Evenings and weekends spent here?" Sofia paused in her polishing, wondering if this was leading to some kind of trouble. Maybe the club management had decided that teenage car washers were bad for their image. "I help support my family, sir. My brother has medical expenses that, well, my mother works 2 jobs, but it's not enough." The mention of family and medical expenses caused something to shift in Marcus's expression. The professional mask slipped for just a moment, revealing a flash of pain that Sofia recognized all too well. It was the look of someone who'd lost something precious and still carried the weight of that loss. "Your brother is ill?" "Diabetes, type 1. He's 12. Sofia's voice caught slightly as she spoke about Miguel. No matter how many times she explained his condition, it never got easier. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, watching Sofia work with the intensity that made her self-conscious. Finally, he spoke again. "You do excellent work, very thorough." "Thank you, sir. I have a car that needs attention, a Bugatti Chiron. Would you be available to wash it next Tuesday?" Sofia's eyes widened. She'd seen the Bugatti from a distance, a stunning piece of automotive art that probably cost more than most people's houses. The opportunity to work on such a vehicle was both thrilling and terrifying. "Of course, sir. What time would be convenient?" 6 a.m., if that's not too early." Sofia almost laughed. 6 a.m. was practically sleeping in compared to her usual schedule. "That's perfect, sir." Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a sleek black wallet. He counted out several bills and handed them to Sofia. "For your time today." "And Sofia?" "Yes, sir. If anyone bothers you while you're working, you let me know immediately. Understood?" Sofia looked down at the money in her hands and nearly gasped. $500. More than she usually made in an entire week. "Sir, I wasn't working on your car today. This is too much. Consider it in advance on next Tuesday's work." Marcus's tone brooked no argument. 6 a.m. sharp. As Marcus walked away, Sofia stared at the money in her trembling hands. $500 would cover Miguel's insulin for the next month with money left over for groceries. For the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe without the constant weight of financial panic pressing down on her chest. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Sofia completed her remaining car washes with renewed energy, her mind racing with possibilities. Maybe she could afford to buy Miguel the glucose monitor he'd been wanting, the one that would make managing his condition easier. Maybe she could even convince her mother to take a day off, something she hadn't done since Miguel's diagnosis. That evening, Sofia arrived home to find Miguel at the kitchen table, working on homework, while their mother prepared dinner. The apartment was small and showing its age, with peeling paint and a persistent leak in the bathroom ceiling, but it was home. The smell of beans and rice filled the air, a simple meal that had become their staple because it was filling and inexpensive. "Mija, you're home late tonight," their mother Carmen said without looking up from the stove. Dark circles under her eyes revealed the exhaustion that had become her constant companion. "I had some extra cars today, Mama. Good tips." Sofia sat down beside Miguel and ruffled his dark hair. "How was school, hermano?" Miguel looked up from his math homework, his young face serious beyond his years. "Fine. Mrs. Garcia says I'm doing really well in science. She thinks I could get into a good college if I keep working hard." Sofia's heart swelled with pride and pain in equal measure. Miguel was brilliant, far smarter than she'd been at his age, but college seemed like an impossible dream given their circumstances. "That's wonderful, Miguel. You keep studying hard, okay?" Carmen turned from the stove, wiping her hands on a dish towel that had seen better days. "How was your day, Mija? You look different, happy." Sofia had been trying to contain her excitement, not wanting to get her family's hopes up until she was certain about Marcus Chen's offer. But the $500 in her pocket felt like a promise of better days ahead. "I met someone today, Mama. A businessman who wants to hire me for regular work. Good money." Sofia pulled out the bills and placed them on the table. "He paid me in advance." Carmen's eyes widened as she saw the money. "Sofia, where did this come from? What kind of work?" "Car washing, same as always. But this man, he has expensive cars and he pays well. Very well." Sofia quickly explained her encounter with Marcus, leaving out Jake Morrison's inappropriate behavior and focusing on the positive aspects of the day. Miguel counted the money with the practiced eye of someone who'd learned to calculate medication costs in his head. "This is enough for my insulin for the whole month, plus extra." Carmen sank into one of the kitchen chairs, her hand pressed to her heart. For a moment, Sofia worried that the news was too good, that her mother might not be able to handle this sudden reversal of fortune. "Mama, are you okay?" Carmen wiped tears from her eyes and pulled both her children into a fierce embrace. "I'm okay, Mija. I'm more than okay. This is an answer to prayer." That night, Sofia lay in the bed she shared with Miguel, listening to his steady breathing and feeling something she hadn't experienced in months: hope. The future still held uncertainties. Miguel's condition wasn't going away, and her mother would still need to work multiple jobs to keep them afloat. But for the first time since her father's death, Sofia felt like they might actually survive. The following Tuesday arrived with typical California sunshine, but Sofia felt like the world had taken on a brighter hue. She arrived at the country club at 5:45, 15 minutes early, because punctuality was crucial when dealing with someone as important as Marcus Chen. The parking lot was nearly empty at this hour, with only a few early-rising club members beginning their morning routines. The Bugatti Chiron sat in its designated spot like a piece of modern sculpture, its aerodynamic lines and carbon fiber body gleaming even in the pre-dawn light. Sofia had researched the car online, learning that it was worth over $3 million and could reach speeds that defied imagination. The thought of being trusted with such a valuable machine was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking. Sofia set up her supplies with extra care, ensuring that every towel was clean. Every cleaning product was appropriate for the car's expensive finishes. She'd invested in some premium car care products with part of Marcus's advance payment, wanting to ensure that her work met the standards expected of someone cleaning a vehicle worth more than most people would earn in HR lifetime. At exactly 6 a.m., Marcus appeared, walking across the parking lot with the same measured stride Sofia remembered from their first meeting. He was dressed in another impeccable suit, this one a deep navy that complemented his dark hair and serious demeanor. Despite his wealth and obvious power, there was something approachable about Marcus that set him apart from the other club members. "Good morning, Sofia. I see you're punctual." "Good morning, Mr. Chen. I wouldn't want to keep you waiting." Sofia had practiced saying his name, wanting to get the pronunciation correct. Marcus smiled slightly at her formality. "Just, Marcus is fine. And you researched my name." Sofia felt her cheeks warm. "I wanted to be respectful, sir." "Marcus. I appreciate that." Marcus walked around the Bugatti, running his hand along its flawless surface. "This car belonged to my sister. She loved speed, loved the freedom of driving fast cars on open roads." The past tense didn't escape Sofia's notice, nor did the note of sadness that crept into Marcus's voice. "She has good taste in cars." "Had," Marcus replied quietly. "She passed away several years ago." Sofia felt a stab of sympathy for this powerful man, who suddenly seemed more human and vulnerable. "I'm sorry for your loss." Marcus nodded, his expression distant for a moment, before refocusing on Sofia. She would have appreciated someone who takes pride in their work. She believed that anything worth doing was worth doing well. As Sofia began washing the Bugatti, Marcus didn't leave as she expected. Instead, he leaned against a nearby pillar and watched her work, his attention focused, but not intrusive. Unlike Jake Morrison's leering observation, Marcus's presence felt protective rather than predatory. "Tell me about your brother," Marcus said after Sofia had been working for several minutes. Sofia paused in her scrubbing, surprised by the personal question. "Miguel? He's 12. Really smart, especially in science and math. He wants to be a doctor someday. That's quite an ambition for someone his age. He says he wants to help other kids who have diseases like his. He understands what it's like to be scared and sick, and he thinks that makes him want to help people feel better." Sofia's voice was filled with pride as she spoke about her brother's dreams. "Sounds like he has a good role model." Sofia glanced up at Marcus, confused by the compliment. "Sir? Or, you're 17 years old, working before dawn to pay for your brother's medical care while maintaining your grades and planning for the future. That's remarkable maturity and dedication." Sofia felt uncomfortable with the praise. What she was doing didn't feel remarkable. It felt necessary. "Family takes care of family. That's what my father always said." "Your father sounds like a wise man." "He was. He died 3 years ago. Construction accident. Everything changed after that." Sofia rarely talked about her father's death, but something about Marcus's manner encouraged honesty. Marcus was quiet for several minutes as Sofia continued working on the Bugatti. When he spoke again, His voice carried a weight of personal experience. Losing a parent changes everything. The world becomes less safe, less predictable. Yes, exactly. Sofia looked up at Marcus with surprise. Most adults offered empty platitudes about her father being in a better place, or everything happening for a reason. Marcus seemed to understand the reality of loss, the way it fundamentally altered a person's relationship with the world. How old were you when your father passed? 14. Miguel was 9. He didn't really understand what it meant at first, kept asking when Daddy was coming home from the hospital. Sofia's voice caught as she remembered those early days of grief and confusion. And your mother? She's strong. Stronger than anyone should have to be. But the medical bills, the regular expenses, it's overwhelming even with 2 jobs. Sofia finished cleaning the Bugatti's wheels and moved on to the body panels, her movements precise and methodical. Marcus watched her work with growing admiration. Despite her youth and difficult circumstances, Sofia approached her task with professionalism and pride. There was no self-pity in her demeanor, no expectation that the world owed her anything. She simply did what needed to be done with grace and determination. Sofia, may I ask you something personal? Of course, Marcus. What do you want for your future? Not what you think you should want or what's practical given your circumstances, but what you actually dream about You allow yourself to dream? Sofia paused in her polishing, taken aback by the question. Most adults asked about her college plans or career goals in terms of practicality and financial stability. No one had asked about her dreams in years. I used to want to be an engineer. I love how things work, how you can solve problems by understanding systems and building solutions. But that was before. Sofia trailed off, not wanting to seem like she was making excuses. Before your family needed you to focus on immediate survival rather than long-term dreams? Yes. Sofia was grateful that Marcus understood without her having to explain the harsh realities of her situation. Dreams don't have expiration dates, Sofia. They might get delayed or take different paths than we originally imagined, but they don't disappear unless we let them. Sofia looked at Marcus with new curiosity. Is that what happened to you? Did your dreams get delayed? Marcus smiled, the expression transforming his serious features. In some ways, yes. I wanted to be a teacher originally, believe it or not. I loved explaining complex concepts, helping people understand things that seemed impossible at first. What changed? Life, circumstances, the need to take care of family, much like what you're experiencing now. Marcus's expression grew thoughtful. But in many ways, I'm still teaching. Running companies, mentoring employees, solving problems, it's all a form of education. Sofia finished polishing the Bugatti's exterior and moved on to the interior. The leather seats were pristine, obviously well maintained, but she cleaned them with the same attention to detail she applied to every car. As she worked, she found herself thinking about Marcus's words regarding dreams and their ability to evolve rather than disappear. Marcus, can I ask you something? Of course. Why do you care? I mean, you're successful and wealthy. You could have anyone wash your cars. Why are you interested in my story? Marcus was quiet for so long that Sofia wondered if she'd overstepped some boundary. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with emotion. Because 20 years ago, I had a sister who was brilliant and determined and willing to sacrifice everything for family. She worked multiple jobs to help pay for her mother's cancer treatments while trying to finish college. She was so focused on taking care of everyone else that she ignored her own health, her own dreams, her own future. Sofia stopped working, sensing that Marcus was sharing something deeply personal and painful. What happened to her? She collapsed one day at work. Exhaustion, malnutrition, stress. It all caught up with her at once. By the time we got her to the hospital, her body had just given up. She was 22 years old. Marcus's voice broke slightly on the last words. Sofia felt tears prick her eyes as she understood the connection Marcus had drawn between her situation and his sister's tragic story. I'm so sorry. Her name was Linda. She was going to be a nurse, wanted to help people heal. Instead, she worked herself to death, trying to save our family. Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, not embarrassed by the show of emotion. Is that why you keep her car? This was going to be her graduation present. She never got to drive it. Marcus placed his hand on the Bugatti's hood with reverence. I keep it because it reminds me of dreams deferred and the cost of believing that sacrifice is always noble. Sofia understood now why Marcus had been so interested in her story, why he'd paid her so generously for work she hadn't yet performed. She represented something he'd lost, a chance to rewrite a tragedy that had shaped his life. You think I'm going to end up like your sister? I think you're on a path that could lead to the same outcome if something doesn't change. Marcus looked at Sofia with intense concern. You're brilliant and determined and absolutely committed to your family's welfare. Those are admirable qualities, but they can also be dangerous if taken to extremes. Sofia finished cleaning the Bugatti's interior and stood back to survey her work. The car looked showroom perfect, every surface gleaming and spotless, but her mind was focused on Marcus's warning about the dangers of excessive sacrifice. What would you have me do differently? Miguel needs his medication, my mother needs help of expenses, and I'm the only one who can provide additional income. I'm not suggesting you abandon your family's needs. I'm suggesting that there might be ways to meet those needs that don't require you to sacrifice your own future. Marcus walked around the car, inspecting Sofia's work with obvious approval. Such as? Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, expensive cardstock with elegant lettering. I run several companies, including a scholarship foundation that provides financial assistance to students from low-income families who demonstrate exceptional academic achievement and community leadership. Sofia took the card with trembling hands. Marcus, I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's an investment in potential. Marcus's tone was firm but kind. You've demonstrated remarkable maturity, work ethic, and commitment to family. Those are exactly the qualities we look for in scholarship recipients. But I haven't even applied to college yet. With everything going on, I wasn't sure I could afford to go anywhere. The scholarship covers tuition, books, and living expenses for 4 years at any accredited university. It also includes provisions for family medical expenses in cases of ongoing health issues. Sofia stared at the business card as if it might disappear if she looked away. This can't be real. It's very real. But there are conditions. Sofia's heart sank. Of course there were conditions. Nothing in life came without strings attached. What kind of conditions? You have to maintain a 3.5 GPA throughout college. You have to complete 40 hours of community service each semester. And you have to promise me that you won't work yourself into the ground trying to do everything alone. Sofia looked up at Marcus with confusion. That's it? That's it. No contracts binding you to work for my companies. No requirements to pay back the money. No hidden agendas. Just a commitment to your education and your well-being. Sofia felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of Marcus's offer. It was everything she'd dreamed of but never dared to hope for. A chance to pursue her education without bankrupting her family or sacrificing her brother's health. Why would you do this for me? You barely know me. Marcus looked at the Bugatti, his sister's car, and then back at Sofia. Because Linda never got the chance to pursue her dreams. Because talent and determination shouldn't be wasted due to circumstances beyond a person's control. And because sometimes the best way to honor someone's memory is to help others avoid their fate. Sofia wiped away tears she hadn't realized were falling. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Say you'll apply to colleges and pursue the engineering degree you've always wanted. Say you'll let others help you instead of trying to carry the world on your shoulders. Sofia nodded, not trusting her voice to remain steady. Marcus handed her an envelope, thicker than usual, and Sofia knew without counting that it contained far more than the agreed-upon payment for washing his, quote, car. The scholarship application process takes time, and your family has immediate needs. Consider this a bridge to help you get from where you are to where you're going. As Marcus walked away, Sofia sat on the hood of her car in the country club parking lot and finally allowed herself to cry. Not tears of despair or frustration, but tears of relief and hope and gratitude for a kindness she'd never expected to receive. The next few months passed in a whirlwind of activity. Sofia continued washing cars at the country club, but with Marcus's bra. Financial assistance? The pressure was no longer crushing. Miguel's medication was fully covered, their apartment's air conditioning was repaired, and Carmen was able to reduce her hours at one of her jobs. More importantly, Sofia had time and energy to focus on her college applications. With Marcus's encouragement and the help of her high school guidance counselor, she applied to engineering programs at several universities, including some prestigious schools she'd never dared to consider before the scholarship opportunity arose. Marcus became a regular presence in Sofia's life, not as an employer, but as a mentor and friend. He would arrive at the country club every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., ostensibly to have his car washed, but really to check on Sofia's progress and offer guidance on college preparation and life decisions. Their conversations ranged from technical discussions about engineering principles to philosophical debates about success and responsibility. Marcus shared stories about building his business empire, the failures and setbacks that had taught him resilience, and the importance of maintaining perspective during both triumph and adversity. Sofia found herself looking forward to these Tuesday morning conversations. As much as she valued the income from washing cars, Marcus treated her as an intellectual equal, challenging her ideas and encouraging her to think critically about complex problems. He was the father figure she'd lost, the mentor she'd never known she needed, and the friend who understood the weight of family obligation without judgment. In February, the college acceptance letters began arriving. Sofia was accepted to every school she'd applied to, with several universities offering additional scholarships on top of Marcus's foundation grant. The choices were overwhelming in the best possible way, a stark contrast to the limited options she'd faced just months earlier. "Where are you leaning?" Marcus asked one Tuesday morning in March, as Sofia polished the Bugatti's chrome accents. "Stanford has an incredible engineering program, and it's close enough that I could come home on weekends to help with Miguel. But MIT has always been a dream school, and they're offering research opportunities that could be amazing for my future career." Both excellent choices. What does your heart tell you? Sofia paused in her work, considering the question seriously. My heart says MIT, but my sense of responsibility says Stanford. Marcus smiled knowingly. Sounds familiar. Linda faced a similar choice between staying close to help family and pursuing her dreams at a distance. What did she choose? She chose family, and she never stopped regretting it. Not because she didn't love us, but because she never got to find out what she was truly capable of achieving. Sofia understood the subtext of Marcus's story. He was encouraging her to choose the path that would challenge her most, even if it meant being further from her family's immediate needs. But what if something happens while I'm gone? What if Miguel has a medical emergency, or my mother gets sick, or the family needs me? What if you limit your potential by staying close to home, and then discover that you could have made a much greater impact on your family's long-term welfare by pursuing the best possible education? Sofia had been wrestling with this dilemma for weeks, torn between her protective instincts and her ambitions. Marcus's perspective helped clarify the decision, but it didn't make it easier. The scholarship covers family medical expenses regardless of which school you choose, Marcus reminded her gently. And MIT has excellent programs for family support services. You wouldn't be abandoning your responsibilities, you'd be positioning yourself to fulfill them more effectively in the long run. That evening, Sofia sat at the kitchen table with her mother and Miguel. The acceptance letters spread before them like a map of possible futures. Carmen had been working only one job for the past month, and the reduction in stress had brought color back to her cheeks and hope back to her eyes. "Mija, I am so proud of you," Carmen said, touching each letter as if they were precious artifacts. "Your father would be amazed to see what you've accomplished." Miguel, now 13 and managing his diabetes with increasing independence, looked up from his homework. "Sofia, you should go to MIT. It's the best engineering school in the country, and you've always been the smartest person I know." Sofia was surprised by her brother's certainty. "But it's so far away, hermano. What if you need me?" Miguel's expression grew serious beyond his years. "I need you to be successful more than I need you to be close. Besides, I'm getting better at managing my condition, and Mama doesn't have to work as much now. We'll be okay." Carmen nodded in agreement. "Miguel is right. You've carried this family for too long, Mia. It's time for you to fly." The decision felt both monumental and inevitable. Sofia would attend MIT, pursuing her engineering degree while staying connected to her family through regular visits and constant communication. The scholarship would ensure that her family's needs continued to be met, and her education would position her to provide even better support in the future. Sofia's last day at the country club was bittersweet. She'd spent nearly a year washing cars in the parking lot, transforming from a desperate teenager into a confident young woman with unlimited possibilities ahead of her. The club members had become familiar faces, some kind and supportive, others merely transactional, but all part of the journey that had led her to this moment. Marcus arrived at 6 a.m. as always, but this time he wasn't alone. A young woman in her early 20s stepped out of the passenger seat, her resemblance to Marcus immediately apparent. She had the same dark hair and intelligent eyes, but her smile was warm and open in a way that Marcus's rarely was. "Sofia, I'd like you to meet my niece Jessica, Linda's daughter." Sofia felt her breath catch. She'd assumed that Linda had died without children, but here was living proof that Marcus's sister had left behind more than just memories and regrets. Jessica stepped forward with an extended hand and a genuine smile. "Sofia, I've heard so much about you. Uncle Marcus talks about you constantly. It's wonderful to meet you, Jessica. I didn't know that Linda had a daughter. I was 3 when she passed away. I've been living with Uncle Marcus ever since." Jessica's voice carried sadness, but also strength. "He's told me about your journey, and I wanted to meet the person who's been helping him heal from losing my mother." Sofia looked between Marcus and Jessica, seeing the family resemblance, but also understanding the deeper connection. Marcus had been raising his sister's daughter while building his business empire, carrying the responsibility of parenthood alongside his professional obligations. "I think you have it backwards," Sofia replied. "Marcus has been helping me more than I could ever help him." Jessica smiled knowingly. "He has a way of making his generosity seem like he's getting the better deal. I should know. I've been the beneficiary of his support my entire life." As Sofia washed the Bugatti for the final time, Jessica shared stories about growing up with Marcus as a guardian. Despite his wealth and demanding career, he'd never missed a school play, soccer game, or parent-teacher conference. He'd taught her to drive in the Bugatti, taken her on business trips during school vacations, and encouraged her to pursue her own dreams in marine biology. "He's been both mother and father to me," Jessica said with obvious affection. "And now, he's found another person to mentor and support. It's what makes him happiest, even if he'd never admit it." Marcus finished his inspection of the car and handed Sofia an envelope thicker than any she'd received before. "This isn't payment for the car wash. It's a going-away gift from someone who believes in your potential." Sofia opened the envelope to find a cashier's check for $50,000, along with a handwritten note. "For the brilliant engineer who taught me that saving one person can save yourself. Build amazing things." Sofia felt tears streaming down her face as she read the note. The money would ensure that she could focus entirely on her studies without worrying about part-time jobs or financial stress. More importantly, it represented Marcus's absolute faith in her ability to succeed. "I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done." Marcus pulled Sofia into a fatherly hug, something he'd never done before. "You don't need to thank me. You need to go to MIT and become the engineer you're meant to be. You need to solve problems and build solutions and make the world better. That's thanks enough." And Jessica added her own embrace, whispering in Sofia's ear, "Take care of yourself at school. Don't work too hard. Don't forget to have fun. And remember that you have family here who care about you." As Sofia drove home that evening, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her from desperation to hope. A year ago, she'd been a frightened teenager washing cars to pay for her brother's medication, convinced that her dreams were luxuries she couldn't afford. Now she was heading to one of the world's most prestigious universities, with full financial support and a network of people who believed in her potential. The transformation hadn't happened overnight, and it hadn't been easy. There had been moments of doubt, times when the pressure felt overwhelming, and days when she questioned whether she was making the right choices. But through it all, Marcus had been a steady presence, offering guidance without judgment and support without strings attached. Sofia's freshman year at MIT was everything she'd hoped for, and more challenging than she'd anticipated. The academic workload was intense, her classmates were brilliant and competitive, and the social adjustment to life far from home proved more difficult than she'd expected. But she thrived in the environment, finding her passion for biomedical engineering and discovering that her background in problem-solving and perseverance gave her advantages that many of her more privileged classmates lacked. She maintained regular contact with Marcus, calling him every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., their old car washing time. These conversations became an anchor in her week, a chance to share her successes and struggles with someone who understood the weight of responsibility and the price of ambition. Marcus's business empire continued to grow, but Sofia noticed that his philanthropic activities had expanded significantly. The scholarship foundation that had supported her education was now funding hundreds of students from disadvantaged backgrounds, and Marcus had established mentorship programs that paired successful professionals with young people facing similar challenges to what Sofia had experienced. During her sophomore year, Sofia learned that Marcus had been diagnosed with early-stage pancreatic cancer. The news hit her like a physical blow, bringing back all the fears and helplessness she'd felt when her father was dying. But Marcus approached his illness with the same measured determination he brought to everything else, undergoing treatment while continuing to run his companies and support his various charitable endeavors. Sofia flew home immediately, despite Marcus's protests that she should focus on her studies. She found him in his office, looking thinner and more tired than she'd ever seen him, but still working with the same intensity that had built his fortune. "You should be in class, not here worrying about an old man," Marcus said, but his smile revealed how much her visit meant to him. "You're not old, and you're not alone," Sofia replied firmly. "Besides, I learned from the best about the importance of family taking care of family." Marcus laughed, a sound that had become rarer as his treatment progressed. "I suppose I did teach you that, didn't I?" Sofia spent the week helping Marcus organize his affairs, not because he was dying, but because he was the kind of person who wanted everything in order regardless of his health status. She learned that his will included provisions for Jessica's continued education and career support, substantial donations to various charities, and a surprise that left Sofia speechless. "You're leaving the scholarship foundation to me, not leaving it to you, entrusting it to you. There's a difference." Marcus's voice was weak but determined. "You understand what it means to need help and to work for opportunities. You'll know how to identify students who deserve support and how to provide it without creating dependency." Sofia felt overwhelmed by the responsibility and the trust Marcus was placing in her. "I'm only 19 years old. I don't know how to run a foundation." "You'll learn. You'll have advisors and support staff, and you'll make mistakes and learn from them. But most importantly, you'll remember what it felt like to be desperate and hopeful at the same time, and you'll use that understanding to help others." Marcus's treatment proved successful, and by Sofia's junior year, he was back to his normal routine of building businesses and supporting causes he cared about. The cancer scare had brought them closer together, solidifying their relationship as chosen family rather than merely mentor and student. Sofia's senior project at MIT focused on developing low-cost medical devices for diabetes management, inspired by her brother's ongoing needs and her understanding of the financial barriers that prevented many families from accessing proper care. Her work caught the attention of several major medical device companies, and she received multiple job offers before graduation. But Sofia had other plans. She'd decided to pursue a master's degree in biomedical engineering while simultaneously taking on increasing responsibilities with Marcus's scholarship foundation. The combination would allow her to continue her education while beginning to give back to others facing similar challenges to what she'd overcome. At her MIT graduation, Sofia was surrounded by the family she'd been born into and the family she'd chosen. Her mother and Miguel had flown in from California, both beaming with pride as Sofia walked across the stage to receive her diploma. Marcus and Jessica sat in the front row, applauding enthusiastically as Sofia's name was called. During the reception afterward, Miguel, now 16 and managing his diabetes with confidence and independence, pulled Sofia aside for a private conversation. "I've been thinking about what I want to study in college," he said, his voice serious but excited. "Oh? Still planning on pre-med?" "Actually, I've been thinking about engineering. Biomedical engineering, specifically. I want to work on developing better treatments for diabetes and other chronic diseases." Sofia felt a surge of pride and excitement. Miguel had always been brilliant, but his decision to pursue engineering felt like a natural extension of the path Sofia had pioneered for their family. "That's wonderful. Hermano, have you thought about where you'd like to apply?" Miguel grinned. "Well, I was hoping you could put in a good word for me at MIT. I hear they have an excellent biomedical engineering program." Sofia laughed, pulling her brother into a tight hug. "I think that can be arranged." As the reception continued, Sofia found herself standing with Marcus on a balcony overlooking the MIT campus. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the buildings, where she'd spent 4 transformative years discovering her potential and preparing for her future. "Any regrets about the path you chose?" Marcus asked, his tone gentle but curious. Sofia considered the question seriously. The past 4 years had been challenging in ways she'd never anticipated, but they'd also been rewarding beyond her wildest dreams. She'd grown from a desperate teenager into a confident young woman with the skills and knowledge to make a real difference in the world. "No regrets," she said finally. "But I've been thinking about something you said when we first met, about dreams not having expiration dates." "What about it?" "I think I'm ready to dream bigger than I ever allowed myself to before. Not just about my own success, but about the impact I can have on others." Marcus smiled, the expression transforming his face in the way Sofia had come to associate with his moments of greatest pride and satisfaction. "Linda would be proud of you. She always believed that education was the key to breaking cycles of poverty and limitation." "I hope so. I want to honor her memory by helping others the way you helped me." "You already are. The Scholarship Foundation is in good hands, and your work on medical devices will help families like yours access better care at affordable prices." Sofia nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility and opportunity in equal measure. "I keep thinking about that first day at the country club, when I was so focused on immediate survival that I couldn't see beyond the next medical bill or the next car to wash. And now I can see possibilities everywhere. Students who need support, problems that need solving, families who need hope. It's overwhelming in the best possible way." Marcus placed a fatherly hand on Sofia's shoulder. "That's the difference between surviving and thriving. You've learned to see opportunities where you once saw only obstacles." As the sun set over the MIT campus, Sofia thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. A year of washing cars at a country club had seemed like a dead end, a temporary solution to an impossible problem. But it had actually been the beginning of a transformation that had changed not just her life, but the lives of everyone she cared about. Her mother was now working only one job and had started taking classes at a community college, pursuing her own dreams of becoming a nurse. Miguel was excelling in school and preparing for his own college applications, his diabetes well managed, and his future bright with possibility. Marcus had become the father figure she'd lost, providing guidance and support that extended far beyond financial assistance. Sofia's graduate work focused on developing a continuous glucose monitoring system that would be affordable for low-income families, addressing the gap between existing technology and the realities of healthcare access for disadvantaged communities. Her research was funded by Marcus's foundation, creating a circle of support that allowed her to pursue meaningful work while developing solutions for problems she understood intimately. During her second year of graduate school, Sofia received a call that changed everything. Miguel had been accepted to MIT's undergraduate program with a full scholarship, not from Marcus's foundation, but from the university itself. Based on his exceptional academic performance and his compelling personal essay about living with diabetes. "I can't believe it," Miguel said over the phone, his voice breaking with emotion. "I'm going to MIT. I'm going to study engineering just like you did." Sofia felt tears of joy streaming down her face as she realized that her brother would be following in her footsteps, but on his own merit and with his own dreams driving him forward. The cycle of limitation that had threatened to trap their family had been broken, replaced by a legacy of education and opportunity that would continue for generations. Marcus's health remained stable, and his businesses continued to prosper, but Sofia noticed that he'd begun delegating more responsibilities to trusted employees and focusing increasingly on his philanthropic work. The scholarship foundation had grown to support over 1,000 DAN students annually, and Marcus had established additional programs for healthcare access, small business development, and educational equity. "I never thought I'd say this," Marcus confided to Sofia during one of their Tuesday morning phone calls, "but I'm happier now than I was when I was building my fortune. There's something deeply satisfying about watching young people like you and Miguel transform your lives through education and hard work." "You've built something more valuable than money," Sofia replied. "You've built hope." Sofia's master's thesis defense was scheduled for a rainy Tuesday morning in November, exactly 5 years after her first encounter with Marcus at the country club. The timing felt symbolic, a full-circle moment that connected her humble beginnings with her current achievements. Her thesis committee included professors from MIT, Harvard Medical School, and representatives from several major medical device companies. The presentation went flawlessly, with Sofia demonstrating not only her technical expertise, but also her deep understanding of the real-world applications and implications of her research. After the defense, as Sofia packed up her materials and prepared to leave the conference room, one of the committee members approached her with an unexpected offer. "Ms. Reyes, we've been following your work with great interest. Our company would like to offer you a position as a senior research engineer with a focus on developing affordable medical devices for underserved populations. The salary is competitive, and you'd have resources to continue the research you've been doing." Sofia thanked the committee member and promised to consider the offer, but her mind was already made up. She had other plans for her future, plans that would honor the journey that had brought her to this point, while creating opportunities for others to follow similar paths. That evening, Sofia called Marcus to share the news of her successful defense and the job offer she'd received. His pride was evident even through the phone, and she could hear the smile in his voice as he congratulated her on another milestone achievement. "So when do you start your new job?" Marcus asked. "I'm not taking it," Sofia replied, her voice steady with conviction. "Oh? Do you have a better offer from another company?" "I have a better offer from myself. I'm going to start my own company, focused on developing and manufacturing affordable medical devices. I want to create solutions that families like mine can actually access, not just products for people who can afford premium healthcare." Marcus was quiet for a moment, and Sofia worried that he might think she was making a mistake by turning down a lucrative position at an established company. "That's the best news I've heard in years," Marcus finally said. "You're ready to be an entrepreneur, to take the risks, and make the sacrifices necessary to build something meaningful." "I learned from the best," Sofia replied. "Besides, I have a secret weapon that most startups don't have." "What's that?" "A mentor who understands the importance of supporting young people with big dreams and limited resources." Marcus laughed, the sound filled with warmth and anticipation. "I suppose you'll be needing some startup capital then." "Actually, I was hoping for something more valuable than money. I was hoping for advice, guidance, and the occasional reality check when I get too ambitious for my own good." "You'll have all of that and more." Building a company is one of the most challenging and rewarding things you can do, especially when you're trying to solve real problems for people who need help. Sofia's company, Accessible Medical Solutions, launched 6 months after her graduation from MIT. The initial product line included the continuous glucose monitoring system she'd developed during her master's program, along with simplified insulin delivery devices and educational materials for diabetes management. The company's mission statement reflected Sofia's personal journey and values: to bridge the gap between medical innovation and healthcare accessibility by developing affordable, effective solutions for chronic disease management. Marcus served as an advisor and investor, providing not just financial support but also strategic guidance based on his decades of experience building successful businesses. His network of contacts in the healthcare industry opened doors that would have been impossible for Sofia to access on her own. Miguel arrived at MIT as a freshman while Sofia was launching her company, creating a new dynamic in their relationship. She was no longer just his protective older sister, but also a successful entrepreneur and role model who had blazed a trail he could follow while pursuing his own dreams. It's weird seeing you as this successful businesswoman, Miguel admitted during one of their weekly coffee meetings in Cambridge. I still remember when you were washing cars at that country club, worried about how we'd pay for my insulin. Do you ever think about how different things might have been if Marcus hadn't noticed me that day? Sofia asked, stirring her latte and reflecting on the seemingly random encounter that had changed everything. I think about it all the time, Miguel replied seriously. But I also think about how you caught his attention in the first place. You were working harder than anyone else, taking pride in your work, even when it was just washing cars. Marcus didn't create your character, he just gave you the opportunity to use it. Sofia smiled at her brother's insight. At 17, Miguel had developed wisdom beyond his years, shaped by his own challenges with chronic illness, but also by watching Sofia's journey from desperation to success. You're going to be an amazing engineer, Sofia told him. But more than that, you're going to be the kind of person who uses their success to help others. I learned from the best, Miguel replied, echoing the words Sofia had said to Marcus so many times over the years. Accessible medical solutions grew rapidly, driven by the genuine need for affordable healthcare solutions and Sofia's commitment to maintaining reasonable pricing even as demand increased. Within 2 years, the company had expanded to include treatments for other chronic conditions and had begun partnerships with healthcare providers in underserved communities. Sofia's success brought media attention and speaking opportunities. But she remained focused on the work rather than the recognition. She spoke at medical conferences, business schools, and community organizations, always emphasizing the importance of understanding the real-world needs of the people you're trying to help. During one particularly memorable speaking engagement at a high school in East LA, not far from where, quote, Sofia had grown up, a teenage girl approached her after the presentation. Ms. Reyes, I'm in a situation similar to what you described. My father is sick, and I'm working part-time to help with medical bills. I want to go to college, but I don't see how it's possible. Sofia felt a familiar surge of recognition and determination. This girl's story was different in its specifics, but identical in its core challenges. Talent limited by circumstances, dreams deferred by necessity, and a young person carrying responsibilities that should have been shared by adults. What's your name? Maria Santos. Maria, I want you to know that your current situation doesn't define your future possibilities. With the right support and opportunities, you can achieve anything you're willing to work for. Sofia spent an hour after the speaking engagement talking with Maria about college applications, scholarship opportunities, and strategies for balancing family responsibilities with personal goals. She gave Maria her business card and promised to connect her with resources that could help. That evening, Sofia called Marcus to tell him about her encounter with Maria and several other students who had approached her with similar stories. It sounds like you've found your next calling, Marcus observed. What do you mean? You're a natural mentor, Sofia. You understand what these young people are going through because you've lived it, and you have the credibility to convince them that change is possible. Sofia had been thinking the same thing. Her company was successful and growing, but she found herself increasingly drawn to the mentoring and speaking opportunities that allowed her to work directly with young people facing challenges similar to her own background. I've been thinking about expanding the scholarship foundation, Sofia said carefully. Not just providing financial support, but creating a comprehensive program that includes mentoring, internship opportunities, and ongoing support throughout college and beyond. That sounds like exactly what Linda would have wanted, Marcus replied. She always believed that education was most effective when it was paired with personal support and real-world experience. The expanded scholarship program launched the following year, incorporating lessons Sofia had learned from her own journey and insights from the hundreds of students she'd met through her speaking engagements. The program provided not just financial assistance, but also brain, mentoring relationships, internship opportunities, and career guidance that continued long after graduation. Sofia's approach to mentoring was hands-on and personal, reflecting the kind of support she'd received from Marcus. She made herself available to scholarship recipients for regular check-ins, problem-solving sessions, and guidance on everything from academic challenges to career decisions. One of the program's first recipients was Maria Santos, the girl Sofia had met at the high school speaking engagement. Maria's academic performance was exceptional, but her family situation remained challenging, with her father's illness creating ongoing financial and emotional stress. "I feel guilty sometimes," Maria confided to Sofia during one of their monthly mentoring calls. "My father is getting sicker, and I'm here at college pursuing my own dreams instead of being home to help." Sofia recognized the familiar struggle between personal ambition and family obligation. "Maria, can I tell you something that someone once told me? Dreams don't have expiration dates, but opportunities do. You can best help your family by becoming the person you're capable of being, not by limiting yourself to what feels safe or immediately helpful." "But what if something happens while I'm away? What if my family needs me and I'm not there?" "Then you'll handle it, just like you've been handling challenges your entire life. But you'll handle it as an educated, capable person with resources and options, not as someone who sacrificed their potential out of fear." Sofia's words to Maria reflected her own growth and perspective, shaped by years of experience and the wisdom she'd gained from Marcus's guidance. She was no longer the frightened teenager washing cars in a country club parking lot, but she remembered that person clearly and used that memory to help others navigate similar challenges. As Accessible Medical Solutions approached its 5th anniversary, Sofia received an unexpected visitor at her office. Marcus arrived unannounced, carrying a small wrapped package and wearing an expression of barely contained excitement. "I have something for you," he said, settling into the chair across from Sofia's desk. Sofia unwrapped the package to reveal a set of car keys attached to a keychain bearing the Bugatti logo. She looked up at Marcus with, quote, confusion. "Those are the keys to Linda's car. The Bugatti you used to wash every Tuesday morning." Sofia felt her breath catch. "Marcus, I can't accept this. That car means everything to you. It used to mean everything to me because it represented dreams unfulfilled and potential wasted. Now I want it to represent something different." Marcus's voice was thick with emotion. "I want it to represent the power of second chances and the importance of supporting each other's dreams." Sofia held the keys reverently, understanding the magnitude of Marcus's gesture. The Bugatti had been a symbol of his grief and regret, but now he was transforming it into a symbol of hope and possibility. "Besides," Marcus added with a smile, "I think Linda would approve of the car going to someone who appreciates both its beauty and its significance." That Saturday morning, Sofia drove the Bugatti to the country club where her journey had begun. The parking lot looked exactly the same, filled with luxury vehicles and successful people pursuing their weekend leisure activities. But Sofia's perspective had changed completely. She parked the Bugatti in the same spot where she used to wash it every Tuesday morning and walked to the nearby bench where she'd eaten her lunches and counted her earnings 5 years earlier. The young woman sitting on that bench now was successful, educated, and financially secure. But she was also connected to the frightened teenager who had scrubbed cars with desperation and determination. Sofia's phone buzzed with a text message from Miguel. "Aced my organic chemistry exam. Thanks for believing in me. What I couldn't believe in myself." She smiled and typed back, "Proud of you, hermano. You're going to be an amazing doctor." A second message arrived, this one from Maria Santos. "Just got accepted to medical school. Thank you for showing me that dreams really don't have expiration dates." Sofia felt a wave of satisfaction and fulfillment that surpassed any business success she'd achieved. This was the true measure of her journey's value, not the money she'd earned or the recognition she'd received, but the lives she'd been able to touch and the opportunities she'd helped create for others. As she drove home in Linda's Bugatti, Sofia reflected on the unexpected path that had led her from a country club parking lot to the executive suite of her own company. The journey had been marked by challenges and setbacks, moments of doubt and periods of overwhelming responsibility, but it had also been filled with kindness from unexpected sources and opportunities that had exceeded her wildest dreams. Marcus had saved her family from financial ruin, but more importantly, he had shown her that success without purpose was empty, that wealth without compassion was meaningless, and that the most valuable legacy anyone could leave was the positive impact they had on others' lives. Sofia's story had begun with a desperate attempt to pay for her brother's medication, but it had evolved into something much larger, a testament to the power of education, the importance of mentorship, and the transformative potential of human kindness. She had learned that dreams really don't have expiration dates, but they do require courage, support, and sometimes the willingness to accept help from unexpected sources. The Tuesday morning ritual that had once been about survival had become about service. Sofia still woke up early every Tuesday, but instead of washing cars, she spent those hours mentoring young people who reminded her of herself, talented, determined, and limited only by circumstances beyond their control. The cycle of limitation had been broken, replaced by a cycle of opportunity that would continue for generations. Nigel would become a doctor, Maria would pursue medical research, and dozens of other scholarship recipients would graduate to become teachers, engineers, nurses, and entrepreneurs who understood the importance of array, lifting others as they climbed. Marcus had found a way to honor his sister's memory while preventing other families from experiencing similar tragedies. Sofia had transformed her family's crisis into a career dedicated to solving problems for people who needed help most. Together, they had created something more valuable than wealth or success, a legacy of hope that would endure long after their individual stories had ended. Years later, when Sofia was invited to speak at commencement ceremonies and business conferences, she would always return to the fundamental truth that had shaped her journey: that one person's kindness can change the trajectory of another person's entire life, and that the responsibility of success is to ensure that the ladder you climbed remains available for others to use. The girl who had once washed luxury cars to pay for her brother's medicine had become a woman who manufactured affordable medical devices for families who couldn't afford premium health care. The teenager who had felt trapped by circumstances beyond her control had become an entrepreneur who created opportunities for others facing similar challenges. And every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., when Sofia arrived at her office to begin another week of meaningful work, she would think about the day that Marcus Chen had noticed a determined young woman in a country club parking lot and decided to change her life. It was a reminder that success was not just about personal achievement, but about the responsibility to recognize potential in others and provide the support necessary to help them reach it. The story that had begun with desperation had become a testament to the transformative power of hope, education, and human kindness. Sofia's journey from the country club parking lot to the executive suite was complete, but her mission to help others make similar journeys was just beginning. The teen who had cleaned luxury cars to save her brother's life had become a woman who was saving dreams, one scholarship, one mentorship, one act of kindness at a time.